What? Yeah! What? What? Check this out, right? What? What? Yeah! What? What? Check this out, right? What? What? Yeah!
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm so excited the weekend is coming. Yay, finally. Fuck my life. That's all I've been asking for all week is just for the weekend to come. I am like, woo. I woke up at 9:15 this morning. I was like, I got 45 minutes before I got to get on this show. Holy shit. I hadn't even set up the show yet. Like, haven't even gotten the show ready yet or anything. Go check out Yona's page. He put up a new song this morning. It has a belly dance thing. It's so fucking beautiful. Oh my gosh. Like, I just sat and watched it for the whole 6.5 minutes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. I love belly dancing videos. They're, oh God, I wish one day, one fucking day I'll be able to learn how to do that stuff. That the tummy stuff. Oh my God. It's so beautiful. I'm like in love. I'm in love. Yeah, see, Yona already called it. Yona's like, Jimmy's going to love it. It's fucking beautiful. I'm definitely going to show you guys today for sure. It's so pretty. What's up, Indy? Good to see you here. It's all super, well, I guess you're on the East Coast, so it's not too super early, but thank you for coming. That's so awesome. Little John approves. Good morning. Amber. Yeah, you should do it. I want to see you do some belly dancing. That would be so pretty. Oh my gosh. I love belly dancing. It's like one of my favorite dances in the world. It's so unique and so different and so beautiful at the same time. God, geez, it's so pretty. It was such a good thing to wake up to this morning. Good morning, John Kemper. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Good morning, Brandy. Thank you for stopping by. I put Yona's new song, the one with the belly dancing, in the comments description area, the comments, so you guys can go and check it out if you want to. Like I said, I'm still gonna be playing it later on today because it's so pretty. So we're gonna definitely be doing it. Yeah, exactly. Such precision and prefect to the beat. It's oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you guys, it's so pretty. So yesterday was really fun. I didn't get to clip any videos because yesterday was like just crazy cool. I'm so glad I didn't like sit back after the show yesterday and was like regretting anything I said. I think I just completely forgot it and everything was great, so I don't even have to think about it anymore. So yesterday was a lot of fun. Just being able to talk to you guys and kind of explain things and get a little personal. I thought that was really neat. Yesterday, me and some friends, Warren, of course, my three normal friends, Warren, Shake and Bacon, and Les Bones, we were all playing some games again yesterday. We didn't play our backyard shrink down fighting bugs game yesterday. We ended up playing a game called No Man's Sky, which is kind of like an outer space open world sandbox kind of game. And it was fun. It's definitely like riding a bicycle. It's been a few months since I played it, but as soon as I got into it, it was a lot of fun. Poor Les Bones was struggling through the whole game. Like me, Warren, and Shake and Bacon have played the game before, so we kind of understand what's going on with the game, and we kind of went through like the beginning stages really quickly. But poor Les Bones, man. He had I was up, I know they were later because they're on East Coast, but I was up until like 12:15 last night trying to get him just to this certain point where we were all at. Like you have to, like, when you land in the planet, you've got literally nothing and you've got to go and fix this ship and try not to die at the same time. So we all got our ships fixed in like within an hour, and poor Les Bones was on there for like 6 hours trying to get his ship to work. This poor guy. He was just like the quests in this game are so hard to follow. They really need to make the quest main storyline of the game a little bit more immersive instead of just like going to places and then clicking on it and then reading a bunch of stuff, because it's all reading. There's just so much reading when it comes to the main storyline. I felt so bad for him. I was trying to get him into the game so he can get to the storyline, but I know how boring the storyline is of the game. It was a lot of fun. We were just running around, acting a fool. We couldn't leave the galaxy. So we were stuck on like in this one little galaxy with like these 3 planets, and that was it. Like we couldn't leave because we didn't want to leave Les Bones. It was so much fun. It was so funny. I can't wait until we play again. That way, now that he's got his hyperdrive so he can leave the galaxy is fixed on his ship, we could like start actually playing the game. We were just it took us 6 hours just to get the game started yesterday. It was wild. So good morning, Warren. Good morning, Willie. Good to see you. Good morning, Holly. I see Holly saying hello to everyone. Okay, you all are saying hello to each other. Good. Speaking of Willie, oh my gosh, you guys. So Willie, fucking awesome. He is going to start doing a show, I believe, on Sundays here on KRTD with us. Just kind of like a special every Sunday kind of thing with us. So I'm really excited to be helping him out with that. I'm going to be getting a hold of him soon. We're going to be going over all the pretties, any kind of design that he wants. You know, my normal job setup stuff when it comes here to KRTD. So that's going to be a lot of fun trying to figure out the design, the look of it. Maybe he wants to keep it as the same way and then like change it up just a tad. I'm super stoked about all of all of the things that are happening right now over here at KRTD. I'm so thankful and grateful for the love and support that I never really expected us to get over here. And it's just so amazing to be a part of that and to see it. Even though I'm in the thick of it, of all of it, I can still separate myself and see it from the outside. And it's just such a beautiful, grateful thing that like all of us are just always every once in a, like all of us are just always coming together here and there, just trying to help each other out, boost each other up. I mean, between all of our independent media shows and all of us all working together with our specials and, with INN's like anniversary show a couple of weeks ago, and then our New Year's Eve show coming up, like just everybody getting together and wanting to see each other succeed is what I've always dreamed of when it came to the independent sphere. So it's really nice to see that a lot of us are doing the getting together and working together. Also, Willie's going to be joining me this Monday. He's going to be joining me the first Monday of every month on my What show. So I get a monthly person. I'm so excited. So now every first Monday of every month, I'm going to have Willie on. And then every 2 weeks on Friday, I'm going to have Sherry on. She was supposed to be on today. I sent her the link to get into StreamYard, but we'll see if she comes. If not, I found a couple things that we can talk about today. She definitely wants to get into the talk about inflation. Something happened this week where some guy was talking some bullshit about inflation and recession, and it kind of lit a fire under her ass, and she's just ready to go about it. So we'll see if she joins me today. I don't see her down in the back room anywhere yet, so we will definitely see. Thank you, John, for going and subbing to Willie. Absolutely love that. Yeah, go and if you guys, Willie has, he's in the comments section. If you click on his name and then go to his profile, give him a follow. He does we do the same, pretty much the same thing. It's just he has a lot more information. He is just like a library in his head of just talking points and really good speaking subjects and rebuttals when it comes to videos that we watch. So definitely go give him a follow. You guys definitely want to follow him. He's absolutely awesome. His look is super, super unique. I absolutely adore this guy. He's so cool. Okay, good. You subbed. Yeah, exactly. Teamwork. It's been so cool to see how all of us are getting together. I know this weekend for our New Year's Eve show, we're going to be releasing the graphics. I got to get those graphics done today. That way I can send them to the team to get an approval. That way we can do the official. Hey, no fighting, you two. Come on. I have a show to do. That's so rude. Don't you know that when filming is going and we're on air, everybody has to be quiet? Y'all are horrible employees. Sorry. But so hopefully when I get this graphics done, or when I get this graphics done by today, and it gets the approval, we'll be able to release it this weekend for the New Year's Eve show to show that who we're working with. And then we'll start reaching out and getting people for the panel slots for the thing for each hour slot for the New Year's Eve show. It's going to be exactly like last year's, where everybody gets hour or two little time slots. And then it's just going to go throughout the whole day. I think we're going to have a couple of music intermissions here and there, which, speaking of which, I think I want to ask Yona if he would like to do an hour-long little music intermission for us. That would be so much fun. I'll join that. That would be a blast, just to sit there and smoke some weed and enjoy some music. I would love that. So we're still trying to get things together. We're still trying to get things all meshed up. We're working with another independent media team. Last year we worked with Sabby Sabs. That was a lot of fun, a lot of work. Poor Sabby, she's like all by herself at last year over there practically when it came to doing things. So we kind of took it upon ourselves to do a lot. But this year she's going out with family and friends for New Year's, which is absolutely awesome. So we decided we're going to be working with another crew that's on YouTube to be doing this, which I can't wait to be to release it and let everybody know. I'm trying my best to keep it a secret for now, not letting anybody know who we're going to be working with, but it's going to be a lot of fun. This team is really excited to be doing their time slots and bringing people on and having their own little air or their own little time to be able to talk about the issues that really are really important to them. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun on New Year's, but there's going to be a lot of really serious talks as well. I know we're going to have an MMT panel, of course, because we always have an MMT panel. So that's definitely necessary. So I'm excited. We're going to see. I'm even thinking about maybe having my own time slot for this show. I'm not sure. I haven't asked yet because I don't want to be like, hey, I have a show. Can I have a spot too? You know, that whole like selfish thing that comes along with, you know, being a person on screen. And I don't want to be that. So if they invite me to have my own time slot, definitely will take advantage of that. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, hey, let me have a time slot. So hopefully I will have a time slot. But if I don't be worried. I'll be there throughout the whole day, either behind the scenes in the back producing, or I'll, you know, hop on stream and help out some. So I'll be there throughout the whole day, no matter what, even if I don't have my own little time slot, which will be fine. I thought that would be pretty interesting. Thought that would be pretty interesting. What are you talking about, Jimmy? You fucking stupid. Anyways, that is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that to get going, and I can't wait to start releasing the graphics and stuff this weekend so we can get a little jump start and getting people ready and used to us getting or doing that at the end of the month. So really excited. I cannot wait to release that. And I'm really excited about Willie working with us too. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Having another on-screen talent with me too. I'm excited. We also have Joe Evans, you know, that does his shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is a lot of fun. I'm thinking about even bringing on Joe Evans as well one day, just to kind of, you know, work with the crew and stuff. I always thought about going on his show too. I can be just as serious as he is, but yeah, we'll see. I have to get the balls enough to ask. That's my biggest problem. Willie is a blast. Yeah, Willie is fun. I really enjoy having him on the show or being on his show, because he fills in those gaps that in my head. I really enjoy talking to him because of that. It's like whenever we watch something and then I think of something, I'm always like, I'm missing out on something. I know I'm missing out on some kind of thing. And then he comes up with it and I'm like, yes, that's it. You're fucking right. I forgot about saying that. That's perfect. And so that's what I love about Willie, is like he fills in those gaps where people don't remember a lot of things, because a lot of things happen in America. You know, we all have like attention spans like a goldfish out here. Like within 2 weeks, you know, a lot of things will happen, and we'll talk about an issue from 2 weeks ago as if it was like years ago, because so much stuff happens in such a short time. This is kind of like our memory. So having Willie on to kind of fill in those little gaps of remembering definitely helps out immensely. Cat. Oh shit. I gotta get cat litter today. I totally forgot. It's your only weekday off from work? Oh my gosh, that's gotta suck. I would hate that. Do you are you gonna be doing your show tomorrow night as well, the little after party show, or are you doing one tonight too? Let me know what you're doing and we'll share it out everywhere too. Oh yeah, that's right. This weekend too, we got an interview. Amber has been doing amazing work clipping up my old interview with John Kiriakou, so we can try to bring back some Panquake excitement. I thought that was really cool of her that she's out there doing that. So on weekends, like Saturdays or Sundays, she's been throwing up these older clips from like a couple of months ago from the John Kiriakou interview. I think it'd be really cool to maybe bring him on another time to talk about it some more. Definitely want to keep the excitement up about Panquake. It's definitely a really cool platform. They are free speech. They don't censor or anything like that. It is $5 a month. But I mean, people pay $5 a month for whatever. So if you're willing to pay the $5 a month, I definitely would suggest at least going to try it out for a month or two to see if you like it. I have used it a little bit and I don't really mind it. I can't do anything really on there because I don't have like, you know, I'm Pope, so I can't pay for it. But it is a really interesting site and I really do enjoy looking through it. Maybe one day I will pay for it. So maybe one day. Sorry. Yeah. You're going to start helping out too on Wednesdays? That would be awesome. Monster show planned tonight. Okay, cool. Peasants podcast number 3 at 11 p.m. Eastern tonight on Yona's channel. So we've got a party tonight to attend to, which is going to be fun. So that's 11, 10, 9, 8 p.m. for Pacific time. So just enough time. See, like 11 o'clock, y'all are going to be like super late partiers. But us over here on the West Coast, we're like 8 o'clock party time. Fuck yeah, I'm all for it. That puts us in bed by 10. Oh, I love it. Yeah, me too. I'm definitely excited about Panquake. I can't wait for more people to get a hold of it and check it out and see what you can do. I know they do like the Super Quake, which is really cool. You get a Super Quake once a month, and you can give it to whatever person you want with that post, and it brings that post to the top of everybody's recommendation page, so that way it's kind of like, oh, this is trending and a lot of other people think it's trending, so here you go, we're going to put it at the top so you can see. I think that's really cool, like using your one cool point a month to be able to bring out or bring to light a bigger subject that you think is worth that. So I think that's really cool. Good. Thank you, John. John is fabulous. True patriot. Absolutely. Les Bones. Good to see you. I hope you are doing good. I was just talking about how we were poor you trying to get your ship to work in the video games last night. I felt so bad for you. I don't want to repeat on it too much, but it was absolutely adorable to watch Les Bones sit there and struggle to figure out what his quests were and to get his ship going. That shit was hilarious. Try to follow along with the quest without going off track on the side quests, because that was really funny. It was really interesting to see somebody who hasn't played the game play the game with a group of people who have played the game. So we were talking about that this morning. So good morning, Les Bones. Good to see you. I have no freaking clue where Sherry is. Sherry is supposed to be here today, but she might ditch out on me. She might. Let's see where Miss Sherry is. Come on, Sherry. I sent her the invite link. You ready? Oh, I mistexted. Edit message. No, I don't want to do that. Edit message. There we go. You ready? There we go. That fixes it. Okay, cool. She is going to be joining very soon. I'm on now. Okay, cool. She's coming. So Sherry is going to be joining me today. There she is. Okay, so Sherry's going to be joining me today. We are going to be talking about inflation. I've been trying to find the links for this morning, but I'm pretty sure Sherry will give it to me. So let's bring Sherry on now, so that way we can talk. Good morning, Sherry.
Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
Good. You sound tired today.
Do I? Well, yeah, I guess yesterday I was starting my birthday week celebrations.
Ooh, it's your birthday weekend? When's your actual birthday?
Sunday.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
I'm going to be 65.
No, you're going to be 21 again. What are you talking about?
That's right.
That's right. Dang, girl. Oh my gosh, your birthday.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you doing for your birthday? What are you going to be doing?
I'm going out to eat with the girls and John, and just hanging out, not doing much.
Oh, I would leave the husband at home and just be like, it's just the girls tonight. Come on.
He's a good guy. They're taking me to a nice French restaurant. So,
ooh,
yeah.
So you're gonna have some escargot?
Nah, not that.
No. Oh, it's so good.
One time years ago, and I didn't like it, but I actually was sick So
Ah,
at the time, so I kind of associate it with that. So I should probably try it again. But
you should. I always suggest to people, if you're going to try escargot, you've got to at least have one glass of wine in you, because
mhm.
when you're chewing on it, it almost feels like a booger kind of, but the taste is amazing. It's
Mhm.
just the texture is too much. So I always, from my experience, when I do escargot, I usually at least like to have a one glass of wine inside of me, so I'm a little bit
Mhm.
tipsy, so I don't care about the texture.
Mhm.
But it's delicious. It literally tastes like a garlic booger. Like, it's amazing.
Well, this restaurant we're going to has this incredible lobster bisque. It's just so
Ooh.
good. Oh my goodness. They
Okay.
bring it in a little pitcher and pour it. And it's so tasty.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. At least you're getting some kind of really good seafood, so that's amazing.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, good. All right. I was trying to figure out exactly like some links. I couldn't find anything. What was the guy that you were talking about the other day?
Okay, yeah. What I was talking about was, let me first start by saying everything I say is my opinion. Doesn't have anything to do with my employer or any other group. Um, and so what I was watching was it was Jay Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair. He was speaking with um, the darn, now I'm sorry, I'm blanking out here. The Brookings Institution. He was speaking at the Brookings Institution. He's being interviewed by an economist who works there, and Jay Powell's actually been on TV a lot this week because he's basically, trying to put out the message that hopefully they're gonna um, ease the rate increases starting in the December meeting. Um, so anyway, so he I'm sure what he is probably doing a kind of a song and dance trying to promote what he's pushing. Anyway, so one of the things that he was talking about in this discussion, and it really irritated me. And I actually didn't listen to a whole lot of the discussion because I got irritated. But he was talking about how it was his plan for getting rid of inflation, right? And so what he was saying was that but we want historically we've always had some inflation, even when when we're not in an economic downturn. Economists see some inflation as a sign of a growing economy. Okay, so because there's always going to be, um, price interactions, and some industries are growing, some are declining, maybe, or whatever. But overall, there's nothing wrong with a slight increase in prices. So over the years, they've kind of come to determine that like 3% to 3% is an okay inflation rate. Um, but of course, we know that it's been significantly higher. And so, one of the things that he's talking about is, well, we want to try to get expectations under control. And that includes, of course, labor. And so, what he was saying was that moving forward, what we want to do is we want to try to get wage growth consistent with a 2% rate of inflation. Okay. So, what irritated me about this was we know that it's really not the workers that are causing that are, inflation is not being caused by workers. People are, their wages have been suppressed. And, since the what 19 around 1980, we've seen a big growth in the separation between the productivity of workers and the wages that are being paid. And so what has happened is, we've had like 40 or so years of basically workers becoming more productive, but not enjoying the fruits of that productivity in terms of wage raises. Who gets that money? It's the people who own the businesses. It's the capital interest, and that includes the financial industry, significantly includes the financial industry.
Right.
So so what's been happening is we've had all these years of this big gap developing between productivity and wage levels, and billions, if not trillions of dollars shifting from the workers to the capital interests. And so what Mr. Powell was saying is, well, we got to not worry about so much, and we need to not be focused on the fact that, yeah, now we have a lot of monopolization, and so companies have been clearly price gouging and even admitting that they're raising prices above costs and yada yada yada, and seeing record high profit rates in all these companies. And meanwhile, we have all these tax havens where people are stashing all this money. But
Mm-hmm.
but never mind. What we want is for workers, as we go forward, to accept that a 2% increase in their wages should be perfectly acceptable, because hey, we're all patriotic citizens here, right? I mean, do what you can to keep the country from the evil of inflation. So it just made me so mad.
It would do the same.
Yeah. And, so I reflected back to when I was growing up, as the fact that I'm about to turn 65 shows that I've lived a long time. And that includes times during the 60s and the 70s when we had much better worker policies. But it also includes the time of the 1970s when we saw a lot of inflation. And, having come from a working class steel town and also textile town, I saw firsthand what was going on with the economy, and what was happening to workers over this time period. Now, in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, unions were still very strong, and we had maybe, I don't know, a quarter of the or maybe third or a quarter of the workforce in unions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that was advantageous about unions was, even if you weren't in a union, you really actually benefited from the effects of unions, because if workers had a cost of living, workers in a big industry like the many industries in the manufacturing sector, if workers had cost of living agreements, so that when every year at the end of the year, when you see what the increase in the CPI was, they match or come close to matching that. What happens then is that workers are able to maintain a standard of living that keeps them at par with what's going on in the economy. And when there's enough union workers, that ends up spilling out over into the broader labor force. And so basically everybody benefits from the fact that workers are getting reimbursed for inflation eating away at their income. So everybody else is doing it too. And I had mentioned this movie, I think the first time I was on here. There's this silly movie with Albert Brooks and Julie Haggerty from early 1980s, and it was called Lost in America. And early on in the movie, they show how there are this young couple, this yuppie couple, and they're kind of supposed to symbolize the yuppies that, in the early 80s. And so they talk about how in the throughout the 1970s, they were working really hard and they bought a home and everything. But what was also happening was inflation was happening. They were in a position where they actually benefited from the inflation because their income was going up. And they had also bought a home. They were in California. They bought a home. The value of the house went way up. And so one of the lines in the movie is, we got a ride in the inflation train. And of course, the movie is silly because it then they go cash out and then immediately lose all their money in Las Vegas. And the movie is kind of about their journey back to reality.
Right.
So it's a cute movie. Anyway,
That's cool.
But that is what happened to the middle class. What happened with the middle class in the 60s and 70s was this. First of all, we had a lot of, support because the government was actually trying to maintain a low unemployment rate. This, of course, was during the time when they thought that they could manage the economy. And then, of course, things kind of fell apart in the 1970s for a variety of reasons, some of which you've heard MMT people talking about. But, in the 1960s, there was a big, in the 1960s, there was a big demographic shift that is happening because we had the baby boom, and the baby boom was growing up, and they were like by the end of the 1960s into the 1970s, this was a group of people that was setting up housing. And so, you had a huge demand for housing. And so housing prices over this period of time increased significantly. And that was a source of wealth for the middle class. And also what happened in the 1970s is that as inflation began to eat away, as inflation arose, it helped keep up these property values of the houses that people were buying. At the same time, though, most people had 30-year mortgages, and they probably got a mortgage in 1969, and at a fairly low rate, and then all through the 70s they were tied into that mortgage at maybe, say, I'm just guessing here, but say 3% mortgage or something like that. If the inflation rate is like 7 or 8%, then whoever has lent you that money, they are actually losing money. And so what happened was in the 1970s, there really was a transfer, essentially, in wealth to a large degree to the middle class, because we were able to maintain the value of our income through the unions and having cost of living increases. But in addition, because we just happened to be lucky in that, we were in a period when we were able to lock into housing at a cheaper rate. And then eventually at some point, the cost of money became much more expensive. We were able to benefit from that. And so that's what Albert Brooks was talking about in that movie. We got a ride on the inflation train. And of course, we all know what's happened, especially those of us who've been into MMT. We know what's happened is that in the 1980s, that all came crashing down, and the banking interests eventually were able to recapture power. And so ever since then, we've had a Federal Reserve that's been fighting inflation and at the same time not supporting workers. So this is kind of a frustrating thing. And to me, it seems like people need to really be aware. I mean, we know that inflation is costing us money, but it's also costing us wealth. It's costing us wealth because we aren't being reimbursed for the differential between like what we produce and what we're paid, but also as the value of money goes up, we're not able to capture any gain from that. We're not able to be compensated for the those increases. So it's really an unfair situation, and I think it's important for people to understand how inflation can be used as a class tool. One of the things that really kind of bugs me about many of the more liberal economists, and I've heard MMT economists say this, like talking about inflation in the 1970s, say, I've heard comments that the inflation of the 1970s was not a result of the cost of labor. Well, if you lived through the 1970s, you knew that part of what was driving the inflation was wage increases, cost of living increases. It was actually helping to drive inflation, right? And so we should be honest about that. But the fact is, because it was basically, it was helping to drive inflation, but it was doing that because we were being compensated for the inflation. And so if we deny that it's possible for people to be reimbursed, and even if we have to acknowledge that does actually help contribute to inflation, we should still acknowledge that that inflation has let's see, I'm sorry, I'm not explaining this very well, but I think we should be aware of all the effects of inflation to understand what is going on, because it can be used against us. If we try to deny that inflation can be affected by wages, and if we try to deny that wages can have an effect on inflation, then we don't fully understand what's going on. And when we don't fully understand what's going on, that's when we can be taken advantage of. Does this make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. My question is, when it comes to, like, let's say inflation and the cost of living and people's wages, like I see where you're seeing like the value properties and everything like that goes up, and that's a good thing for people. But where, like, let's say in 300 years or so, with all the cost of living going up and then inflation going up, and then what if people's wages stayed along with it, how far how long can we go just consistently raising and raising and raising until it's too much to we have to stop?
And it does get to be a problem, and that's why labor does need to be participate in inflation policy if we can. I mean, we should strive to do that. And that means we should have an influence at the Fed. Okay, so yes, you're right. We can become part of a problem eventually. And that's what happened in the 70s. We actually were kind of part of a problem. But what happened was the solution was imposed on us. We had no input on it, and we really didn't understand what was happening. So we, basically, for us to be able to have some control, we need to understand that yes, labor is a cost of production. And that's part of why it is such a frustration in terms of like wage policy, because I think there's always a disconnect. I think a lot of people have a disconnect between understanding that workers are a cost of production, and so capital is always going to try to reduce that cost of production.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they can use inflation as a way of doing that. That's what happened in the 1970s.
Right.
And it also opened the way for kind of crazy things in economics, like rational expectations and stuff like that. But so inflation is like, MMT people acknowledge that inflation can be a problem, but it isn't. You got to look at the sources of the inflation,
right?
And the sources of inflation right now are not labor,
right?
It's
corporate greed.
Yeah, there's many things.
Yeah.
There's really many things. Corporate greed is a big part of it,
right?
Because we've allowed all this monopolization to happen,
yep.
And then we've also had, as I said, we've had all this basically capture of the productive gains that people have been able to accrue, or they haven't been able to accrue, that corporations have basically taken away. So there's that. But we also, we haven't had investment in this country. I mean, we all know that there's all these issues of lack of investment.
Yeah.
But then there's these many other problems that, we talked about in other episodes too. Well, basically the just-in-time delivery focus, things like that. All these things have basically made our system much more fragile and more vulnerable to problems. So when the problems arise, then it balls everything up. And so what happens is we have, we have this, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's just as early for me.
I'm doing a terrible job of this.
No, you are good. So then my question would be, okay, so like what's going on with the rail workers right now?
Okay.
How is that even legal? Unions are supposed to be, we're allowed to have those. So why is our own government itself voting on laws for federal union workers just to even have a day off, and they're voting against it?
Yeah, well, you know what? The government has injected itself into this. Now, so what happens with these negotiations is that, the corporations, they make their demands and the unions make their demands, and they have mediators oftentimes that come in and kind of help to do this. So the government is basically saying injecting itself as a mediator in this. And it's, what it's doing is it's basically siding with the corporations, and it's just it's awful. One of the problems that's been happening is, these corporations, we talked about private equity, some of it's private equity, but clearly one of the problems is that the industry has downsized the workforce a lot. And so they're making do with like 2/3 of what normally they had a full force for. So that means that people can't, a lot of these workers can't take time off. And, so what is happening is that basically the companies are just taking advantage of the workers. They're just working them and working them and working them. And this is part of that whole thing when I was saying about how the productivity gains and, wages have diverged. So what's happening here in a situation like this is that workers are being forced to become more and more productive, because basically what they're doing is they're firing some of the workers. The rest of them, they're saying, you're lucky to have your job. Now you better work a lot harder. And so, but they don't get any extra income. So the company's benefiting because they got rid of some of the workers, and they're also making the current workers do those jobs, and they're basically capturing the differential. And so they've been, and that is one way that they return value back to the shareholders. Remember, we had talked about shareholder value, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So they return value back to the shareholders by doing this. When you have a focus in an economy that says, oh, shareholder value is the most important thing, about corporate management. And so we have to, basically, they almost in their minds can see it as this is a good thing to screw over workers so that shareholders can have more value. And this is part of the thinking, because this is where I get back to workers are a cost of production. And, as workers, we don't see ourselves that way. We think, okay, we go to our job, we try to do the best job we can, we're dedicated to our employers, we value our jobs, we want to be good community, citizens and things like that, right? But we unfortunately have developed a corporate structure that has gotten to care less and less and less and less about workers over time. And all these little weird things that seem kind of irrelevant, like shareholder value, why would that matter to your average person? Well, the reason it matters is because that's an excuse to take advantage of workers. It's an excuse to take advantage of customers, even take advantage of suppliers. And when you take advantage of the suppliers, that also weakens the supply chain. So you have all these, so we have these, these weird ways of thinking, or we have these ideas that have been promoted over the years because of this neoliberal ideology has really affected the way we think, and it has affected even more so, I think, the way the people at the top think. And I think there's a disconnect. We don't always understand that they're not thinking the way we do. And that's the tricky thing about economics, because they know economics, and so they're using economics.
Yep. They are.
And so that's why.
So what is a shareholder? What does a shareholder do?
A shareholder is just somebody who puts up money to buy stock.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
And they're so important.
Bought some stock. You bought some stock. Yep.
Wow. And they're more important than the people who are actually making the product and making sure that the consumers get the product.
Thanks to Milton Friedman, that is the thinking.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is insane to me. It's still crazy to me to even think like that. And like, I think we were talking about it 2 weeks ago too. Like, I still blame the Industrial Revolution for that whole thing. We used to have specialized workers people who were professionals at their job, and it costs a little bit more money, but you've got the best of the best, whether it was a door, just a simple door or a doorknob. People specially made that. But once the Industrial Revolution came in, corporations and people who own businesses found a way, instead of letting one person do the entire product and become a genius at that product, have them do a piece of that product and never understand what that product is.
Right. That's the pin factory example in Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, the Industrial Revolution has really increased the standard of living. But the problem is it hasn't done it fairly.
No.
And that's part of why what happened with the profession of economics is that after Marx and during the time of Thorstein Veblen, who was an institutional economist, who's very socially aware. They actually brought questions up about this. Why? What, why are things being, why is the distribution of income the way it is? Why when wealth is being created, why is it just going to one group? Right. And they had valuable points. They were good. They were correct in making these questions. But what happened was the economics profession developed a way of thinking that explained the distribution of wealth in a way that sounded scientific and it sounded fair, and it sounded just. And that is through basically the marginal revolution. They call it the marginal revolution. And basically what it did was it said, well, workers get paid what they produce. Mm-hmm. So if you get paid, if whatever your wage is, you're getting that wage because you earned it. And you shouldn't complain about not making any more money because you're doing a crappy little, a job that doesn't deserve any more money. And hence now we have people who complain about, well, why should I pay somebody $20 to flip a hamburger?
Yep.
Honestly.
They say that.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, mm-hmm. I had a fight with a guy in an airplane. Mm-hmm. And he said that exact thing.
Yeah. My own little brother, I have arguments with him about that. I'm just like, you're telling me that a guy who is sitting behind a grill, probably burning the shit out of his arms, cooking food, that way it's healthy and safe for somebody to eat without dying, is less important than some construction worker digging a fucking hole so a building can be made? You're kidding, right? You're joking. Mm-hmm. You're joking to me. Like, that can't be real that you think like that. Like, those people serve food. Like, we eat that. How is that less important than a pavement sweeper,
Right. And, and the thing of it is how much revenue is that that worker really bringing into the company? We don't know. I mean, They might be getting paid $15 an hour. They might be producing $300 worth of, of value to the company in an hour. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just saying this, but we don't think that way.
Not my own experience but from what I've heard from people who do work in construction business. Let's say they get like $150,000 job that needs to be done in 3 weeks, but the job only needs actually would take, if the people actually worked, 5 days, but they milk that 3 weeks for the pay, no matter whether or not the thing gets done or not. They'll get it done in the 3 mm-hmm. weeks or whatever, but they'll milk that shit. And a fast food kid can't milk that burger that he's making because it's fast food. They have to make it instantly. That's where I just don't see like how people go around saying that burger flipper deserves less than certain construction jobs, or mm-hmm. a lawyer or something. Wow, a lawyer went to school for some months or for some years. Whoop-de-doo-dah. Like, that kid has probably been behind that grill cooking for those years that you were sitting in school in your privileged little classroom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so that's the thing. We basically, what happened was economists completely deflected the discussion of value.
Yeah.
And
sounds like it.
And that is really important. And economists continue to avoid the discussion of value. Mm-hmm. Mariana Mazzucato, though, does have a new book out on values. Some of the heterodox economists are really starting to look into this, because the discussion of value is really the moral discussion. That is the discussion of how do we allocate this wealth that we produce. When Adam Smith, when he was talking about value, that's what he was doing. He was asking, how is value created? What is value about? And, to him, basically, people interacting individually, and the fact that and not having government interfere in markets and things like that. These were some of the things that he was for. But Adam Smith also recognized that there was a moral aspect to all this, and that people need that we do need the government to protect people, and that we do need uh, for people to care about each other. That there is something more than just the economy. There's a society that exists, and the economy is within the society, but it is not the whole society. And unfortunately, this thinking like economists, it's just disgusting, because it's trying to make people think that the economy is the highest value. It isn't. Right. It isn't.
Nope.
So
it's social. It's humanistic. That's the value of people. It's humans.
Right.
Life,
right.
health, family, love.
And how we allocate wealth that's created in society. There's nothing natural about it. No. It comes about because of the choices that we make, because of the policies that we make. And those policies, they dictate, who gets what. But the problem is, when you have so much wealth and when you have so much power, they're the ones then that should call the shots. Years ago, when I was a kid, people did actually understand that bigness was a problem. And that big corporations had the power to affect the government, and that was a bad thing. It is. We have just gotten so much away from that thinking, and the profession of economics has enabled that to happen. And it was done intentionally, that, because the Powell Amendment, that's part of what the Powell Amendment was about, trying to change thinking and trying to make people basically like business and economics more. I mean, that's just right there in it.
Right. But now they're lying to us, though, like when it comes to economics nowadays. Like, how many people in America, even politicians, understand how our economics runs? Like, us MMT people are still like the redheaded stepchild in the economics group, but it's how it runs. So why, even if we, these people that do know economics or do, but don't understand MMT, they're still going around saying this is how it works. They were like, we're still, even though we're not on the gold standard, we're still kind of on the gold standard kind of stuff, like we still need to tax to fund. And why, if that's, is that deliberate? Are they doing this on purpose?
Well, I think initially it was deliberate. And what's happened is a lot of bad thinking evolved out of that period of the development of the neoliberal mindset. It actually took a long time for that neoliberal mindset to kick in, because what happened was, in the 1930s, when we had the Great Depression, and Keynesian thinking took over. People like Milton Friedman and Ludwig von Mises and Friedrich Hayek, and James Buchanan, and all these Chicago school people, they continued to meet. Like they started meeting after World War II in a place called Mont Pelerin in Switzerland, and they got rich foundations to fund them going over there. And they'd go over to this resort hotel in Switzerland, and they would just basically bitch about the fact that they lost. They lost the economic thinking.
Oh, no.
But what they did was they stayed together and they formed the basis of a group that really brought back this thinking. And so from the 1940s on, they had this group, and it's an interesting um, it's interesting in a scary way what this group was. It was a bunch of academics that they were all of the same type of thinking, and you had to be invited in, and you had to be um, recommended by somebody who was in the group. And so, in other words, they made sure that anybody who was in the group was, thought like them. And they essentially, over the years, they grew, they expanded, and they eventually brought in all these people who ended up winning supposed Nobel Prizes in economics. And basically, what they were doing was they were making a plan for how to basically totally revamp economics. And what happened was in the 1960s, with all the social events that, the commotion and stuff. And then, of course, as a result of Vietnam, then, of course, as a result of the crash of the Bretton Woods system and all the inflation and everything that happened, basically what happened was the Keynesians kind of threw up their hands and said, we don't know what the hell's going on. We don't know what we got to do, because we have this stagflation and we had a plan. We thought, okay, this is how you can actually moderate an economy and maintain it. But it didn't work. And they didn't, it didn't work because there were a lot of things that they weren't accounting for. And they had some bad assumptions as well. So what happened was Milton Friedman and his group, they came in and they changed economics, and they changed economic policy. And so now what happens is you have a generation of people, like anybody younger than me was not exposed to, for the most part, not exposed to Keynesian economics, and not exposed to I had courses of history of thought. I had courses in comparative economics. I had a professor who was from the Ukrainian Free University, and he taught us about Soviet planning and things like that, So, but anybody younger than me, they have not had this training, and so they actually, all they know is Milton Friedman kind of economics. That's all they know. And they totally bought into it. And so when you try to talk to these people, it's just mainstream economics, and
right.
There's no interest in anything else.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that for all economists, but certainly most of the ones that I interact with professionally.
But they know how the economy actually works. They have to, especially with socialism, with CEOs, when, Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or the Virgin Mobile guy wants a bunch of money, you don't see the government going around saying we need to fund taxes for this first. They just sign a law and they get the money. So they have to know that the taxes don't fund. They have to know that there's no vault of money just sitting there. They have to know that.
So you're talking about people at the Federal Reserve and stuff. I don't work with them, and I don't know. Economics is divided up between micro and macro.
Right.
And basically what's happened is macroeconomics has been completely dominated by what's called monetarist theory. And that was what Milton Friedman promoted. And basically what it is it's just saying money is what runs the economy. And so, it's the amount of money and yada, 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 all the stuff that we know about now. But Keynes the Keynesians focus more on fiscal policy. In fact, monetary policy is a really broad tool, and so it's very it's a hard tool to you can't really get at a lot of the issues with monetary policy. And so anyway, what happens with the economics profession is most of us are we're all either macroeconomists or microeconomists. And so I happen to be a microeconomist, and people that I work with, for the most part, we don't really deal with macro issues. And so we really don't know what's going on. Somebody like me, I don't know what goes on at the Federal Reserve because I'm just not doing that work. I mean, I can read journal articles and things, but it's sort of like a completely different world. And so unfortunately, though, it does affect our thinking, and so for the most part, we don't people that do work, the kind of work like I do, we don't deal for the most part with macroeconomic issues, and we don't really know how the Fed operates or anything. We're really doing things like, focusing on the particular issues that, like for instance, might be agricultural finance, or if you're environmental, you're dealing with environmental problems, environmental policy, things like that. Mm-hmm. So we're taught this stuff, but then when we go out and actually work, most economists don't deal with that stuff. But we have that basic thinking behind us, and so that basically illuminates our. I guess you would say it helps to create our biases. It helps to influence the way we see the world, and unfortunately, we have been taught a really narrow view of the world with respect to economics, and we don't see the impact on the people. It's unfortunate, and so what we really need is people to become aware of this stuff and start questioning, because economists just, essentially, we get this stuff kind of baked into us and we just don't think about it, Mm-hmm. I thought about these things because what happened to me was the financial crisis was such a complete shock to me. It really made me stop and question. And frankly, I was always kind of a ne'er-do-well, I guess. Mm-hmm. But so I mean, I guess maybe I didn't take a lot of the stuff seriously, and then because I did have some foundation in like the history of thought and all that kind of stuff, I was able to kind of have maybe a bit more skeptic. I was a bit more skeptical than maybe a lot of people, and certainly in graduate school, as I was going through that's when things were really changing theoretically, and I was really kind of overwhelmed with it because it was just seemed also so bizarre to me. Mm-hmm. So I never really bought into a lot of the thinking. Let's put it that way, especially with respect to macroeconomics. And I knew that Milton Friedman had clearly had an ideological agenda that I did not agree with. And so, but still, it really didn't shock, things still really didn't shock me until the financial crisis. And that's when I started learning about MMT. And that's when I started trying to learn more about heterodox economics and things like that. So, mm-hmm. But I think part of the problem is, economists are notoriously really arrogant. And so in graduate school, we tend to be taught to become really arrogant, thinking, it's taught that it's supposed to be economics is the queen of the social sciences,
Hmm.
shit like that.
Wow.
And so there's I think there's an arrogance because of the way economists use math and stuff. You know, they tend to think of themselves as better than other social sciences.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
So
Right. And you see, not like steering off the on a little side tangent too. Like that's where I see it. I don't want to say it's a problem because it's not like it's anybody's fault, but like how you're saying, like anybody that's younger than you doesn't understand it. And it's because we were raised with the thought of this is how the economy is and it's always been this way. And unless you actually take that time and learn about history, which is a whole process in itself outside of school that you're going to have to do on your own, nobody's really going to understand that that it wasn't like this, that it has changed, that
right,
we haven't always been like that. But
right,
I
right.
I could definitely, as somebody who's a younger generation, just got out of my 20s less than 10 years ago, that's just what we thought. We thought it's always been this way. This is just how it's always been.
Yeah,
There's no
it
way
has
of changing it, but it hasn't.
no. And the thing is, people fought really, really hard for us to get those benefits that we had in my generation.
Mhm.
In my generation, I didn't pay much for college, and everybody that I knew, you could always get a job. You could screw up a little bit and still land on your feet. But nowadays we've
No.
developed a society where, if you're a kid that struggles in school and so you don't maybe do well in school, that just basically just destroys your life, really.
Mhm.
Because you're supposed to then go to college. Well, if you can't get into college, then what do you do?
Yep.
We have a society that basically just throws away anybody who isn't like a productive member of society right from the start, knows what they want, really focused. And most people aren't like that. The
Mm-mm.
vast majority of people, you go to college and you don't even know what what you want to do with your life. And so
Nope.
it's easy to screw up when you're young. And we should have a society that doesn't throw away young people because they made a wrong choice or got influenced by some people, or they just got were unfortunate in the way that where they were born.
Mhm. Yep.
This is just horrible to me, that we waste so much human potential.
Mhm.
So
And
um
that's why I do a lot of the talk, like a lot of the things that I say on my show. Like, there's got to be a point where we got to get angry because these kids just think that this is the life and this isn't how life is supposed to be.
no,
So, because they don't know, who's going to get angry for them? Like, when are we, at least a little bit of the older generation that is close, my generation, millennials, helping out these Gen Zs to help them figure out like this is not the way to do it. We need to fucking get angry. I've been talking about it for weeks. Like there's got to be a point where I know politic people are like, oh, we're anti-violence, you shouldn't be for violence, but there's got to be a way to act violent towards our politicians and towards these higher ups to get them scared of us because they need to start listening to us. We need to stop thinking this is just how life fucking is and just deal with it and take it up the ass and start fighting back and learning history and realizing we've actually had better and we can get back to this if we actually
right,
just scare the shit out of our politicians somehow, because
yeah,
telling them the guillotine is not working.
yeah, right, yeah, and people fought hard for this stuff. One thing we don't learn in history is the labor struggles that
Yeah.
the US went through in
Right.
the 1800s and into the early 1900s.
Right.
These were horrific battles. I mean, and many people died in those battles. People had to work really hard. I've been just for some reason, I just have been on this kick. I've been reading about Joe Hill. Do you know who Joe Hill is?
It sounds familiar.
Okay, Joe Hill. He was actually born Joel Emanuel Haglund in Sweden in 1879, I think. Yeah, 1879 he was born. And he was from this family, like a middle-class family. His dad worked on the railroad, and they had 6 kids. And when his dad was like 41, he had some kind of accident on the job, and he was undergoing surgery to deal with it, and he died. And so this woman, so here it was, and this was when Joe was 8 years old. And so his mom had 6 kids. And, so this was the 1880s in Sweden. So they really they struggled to survive. But she managed to keep the family together. He went to work when he was 9 years old. And, basically the kids had to go to work. So they were able to maintain the family home until his mom died when he was 23. And so the kids decided that they would sell the home and divide the proceeds, and they would all basically move on with their lives. Right. He was 23 then. So he and his brother, they came to the U.S. And they were hoping to have a better life. And by the way, while he was young, he almost died when he was young. I had no idea this was such a thing. He had tuberculosis of the skin and tuberculosis of the glands.
Whoa.
Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing. So, and so anyway, so he was a kid and he was suffering from this, but he had to work. He worked actually to pay for the Medicaid, to pay for his treatment. Can you believe that? This is how people lived. So he came over here hoping for a better life. He got a job cleaning out spittoons in New York City. So he thought, well, maybe there's something better. So he decided to move to the West. So he came here in 1902. And so he became an itinerant worker. He went to Chicago, and he got blacklisted for trying to unionize workers. Mm-hmm. And then he went out west, and he found out about the IWW, the International Workers of the World, also known as, nicknamed the Wobblies. Mm-hmm. And he became a Wobbly. And so he was somebody who, when he was a kid growing up, his family's very musical, so he could play instruments, he could sing, and he also started writing songs. And so he started writing songs for the IWW, so songs and poetry and stuff. And this was really clever. His apparently what happened was the companies, a lot of times when workers were trying to go on strike, companies would bring in the Salvation Army, and the Salvation Army would sing their songs. Basically, the whole thing was like a distraction. Mm-hmm. And so what happened was Joe Hill, he started writing these songs that were with the same music. He wrote songs to the music of the Salvation Army songs, but they were worker songs. Mm. So they had this song called "In the Sweet By and By" or something like that. And he changed the words. The song is called "The Preacher and the Slave." And in the song, he says something like, "You'll get your reward in the sweet, in the sky. You'll get pie in the sky when you die." And that was so he coined the term "pie in the sky." And so anyway, so it was clearly a sarcastic song, kind of to make fun of this, abuse of religion to to impose power over people.
Right.
So he anyway, so he became pretty well known in the industry, and apparently, so his name, he was born Joel Hagstrom. When he came to the U.S. At some point he changed his name to Joseph Hillstrom, and it may be because of after the blacklisting that happened to him. But then he shortened it when he joined the IWW, and he was writing songs and poems and stuff. He just shortened it to Joe Hill. So anyway, what happened was Joe Hill, it was amazing. It's amazing the stuff that happened to him. He ended up being in San Francisco during the San Francisco fire, and then he ended up he and some IWW workers fought for a little while on behalf of the Mexican revolutionaries in Mexico in the early 1900s. Anyway, so he ended up in Salt Lake City. He was working at a mine, and what he would do is he would get these jobs, and while he was working these jobs, he would try to recruit people to join the union. And the IWW was a union that they decided it had to be basically for anybody who wanted to be in it. So they wanted to unionize like the lower level workers, not the skilled workers, which were already represented by like the AFL and those. And they also wanted to include people of all races. Some of the other unions were racist and exclusionary, but the IWW wanted people of all colors, all race. And so Joe was in Salt Lake City and Park City, and he was working at a silver mine up in there. And what happened, and there was a Swedish community that he became part of, and they would sing songs and stuff like that. He was living a reasonably, normal life,
right,
for a change. And there was a murder that occurred. A man and his son were shot closing up. They were the man owned a store, and he and his son were closing up one night, and they were shot. 3 people came and they actually didn't rob the store. And so the police thought that this was probably a revenge thing because the man had been, his name is Morrison. He had been a policeman before this, and he had arrested many people. And, so the concern was that, okay, well, maybe this was somebody getting back at him for putting them in jail. Anyway, the same night, so one of the guys that was there got shot by the son, but it was a man and his son. The son shot one of the guys, but all 3 of the guys got away, but the man and his son were actually killed. And so one of they had a second son was also there, and he was hiding and was watching this whole thing, but he didn't get to see who these attackers were very well. He just couldn't see because it was dark, and he was hiding. So anyway, that same night, Joe Hill got into a fight with a friend because this friend was engaged to a woman. They broke up. She broke up with him, and Joe was hanging around with her. So this guy got jealous, and he shot Joe. Then he took Joe to the doctor. The doctor healed him up. But the doctor, he was kind of suspicious. Anyway, what happened was then it came out about the murder and everything like that. The doctor turned Joe in, and he became suspect number 1. And wow. Even though there were other people that were also under consideration, they decided to focus in on him. And there was no evidence or anything. The boy who who was a survivor. The first time he saw Joe Hill, he said that's not him at all. But there was no doubt a lot of pressure on, on them, because basically the mining interests, they didn't want Joe Hill around.
Of course.
So Joe Hill, he did not really defend himself because he was really kind of naive, and he thought, well, I didn't do it, so they're not going to be able to prove that I did it because I didn't do it. And so he really didn't defend himself. He ended up being railroaded and found guilty. And there was, at that point in time, the IWW got involved, and Helen Keller tried to appeal to the Utah state governor. Woodrow Wilson tried to intervene twice. People from all over the world were writing letters. The Swedish government got involved. They all tried to save Joe Hill, but were not able to. And so the state of Utah shot Joe Hill in 1915. And so he became a martyr. And what happened was his ashes, he wrote to Bill Haywood, who was one of the founders of the IWW. He wrote to him and said, we're not far from the border with Wyoming. I want my body shipped out of here. I don't want to be dead in Utah. And so what they did was they sent his body back to Chicago, and there was a huge procession, and there were like tens of thousands of people came for this funeral. And it became a massive unionizing event, and a massive, he just became this huge martyr. And so there's been songs written about him. His songs were put into a little red song book that the IWW sold, and since then they've I guess produced other issues and stuff like that. And then about 10 years, I guess after his death sometime, a song was written about him. And it was called, the verse, it starts out, I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and me. Said I, Joe, you're 10 years dead. He never died, said he. I never died, said he. And so, the myth is that he lived on. He will always live on for the workers. Right. So, and actually Joan Baez sang that song at Woodstock. So, yeah.
Good.
So anyway, Joe Hill, he just is, he's somebody who lived a really hard life, and he tried to make life better for people. He died trying, and right. At least you can think of it that way. So, but this right. is, people have died, people have yep. died, people have suffered yep. for the rest of us to have decent lives. Yep. And I grew up at a time, my generation benefited from that. And as a result, I feel that, I want my kids to live in a world like that. I want my grandkids to live in a world like that. I want my friends to live in a world like that. Nobody should be just thrown away.
Right.
And we have so many people who are in, these, like, you watch that show, The Wire, and you see all these young people. They're smart and they are ambitious, and they have nothing. They have nowhere to go with anything. All those people, they have skills that they could contribute productively, and we have people all over this country that are, in the same way. Right. It just seems to me we need to value people. And we need to recognize that there's many, many ways that we can be taken advantage of. We need to be smart, and we need, you know, we need to fight for ourselves.
Mhm.
That's what Joe Hill did. So,
Right. So, in your eyes or in your mind, what do you think happened between the 1950s and now? Because it seems like we worked really, really hard to get those benefits that we got. We got them for a small little time, and then they've just slowly been going away. And now we're here where we are now, trying to get back to that, to where union workers and are appreciated and loved and respected, and money is income is just as high or just the same level as the cost of living. What do you think happened? Did we just think, oh, we got all this, and so we're just going to have it forever, so people stop paying attention?
well, it really was a lot of different things. One thing, my generation benefited from a really unique set of circumstances, because in the 1920s we went through all that craziness of the 20s, and it ended up causing the economy to collapse. Really, World War I was still part of this whole thing and stuff. But what happened was we got really lucky, and we had this incredible leader in Roosevelt, and he was very forward thinking, and he worked with a lot of people who were also really forward thinking, and he brought in people like Mariner Eccles and Frances Perkins. And these people had been, like Frances Perkins, she was somebody who was really like doing social work. She was a well-known progressive from like early parts of the century. She was like there trying to improve labor conditions after the Triangle Fire that happened in the 1912 or whatever it was. So he was able to bring in these people, and they were really original thinkers, and they tried things. And then at the end, and when World War II happened, it was clear that a lot of the problems that kind of brought about the Great Depression and the problems that we were dealing with, these were factors that were also impacting other countries, and in fact had helped contribute to World War II. So they really, like Bretton Woods and beyond, we had leaders who actually were forward thinking and were making plans, and were saying, we need to get capital under control, and we need to give people an outlet, a chance to improve. But after FDR died, it just started, like Truman came in, and they passed the Taft-Hartley Act, which started to ding away at the union rights. And I think a lot of the problems that we've had also come about because of naivety. My generation, we were told, oh, this is a great system. We have all these things because it's just a great system. So we were kind of like led to believe that all this stuff just happens, that it's almost like a natural course of events because we have this wonderful system. Well, right. No, a lot of this was brought on by, blood and sweat and hard work. Now we saw a lot of this. We saw that that's what it takes in the 60s with the civil rights movement and stuff. But I think we kind of, thought, well, things are just going to keep getting better. And we just we just took it for granted, and not realizing that behind the scenes, there were a lot of these people like Milton Friedman and Powell and a lot of these other interests. There's lots of them. Lots of business interests and stuff. They just continued to push and push and push and underhandedly,
right.
you
The
know.
people were just living their lives thinking it was going to last forever, right?
Right.
That sucks.
And so what happened was we were really naive and, and bought into the bullshit without understanding that there were all these forces that were trying to, bring it to an end. So, and I think, there were still a lot of people, even through the 70s, there were still a lot of people that remembered depression, remembered how hard things were. And I think there were still a lot of people who were patriotic enough, that there was a sense of greater good. But when Reagan came in, and all this, and I'm not trying to blame it just on Reagan, because clearly he was just kind of the person that kind of helped put all this stuff in place. What was really happening behind the scenes was these people like Milton Friedman who were thinking up all these ideas. And then when Reagan came in, he put them into place.
Wow. So then that brings us back to today. So what do you think is going to happen with Jay Powell and how he was talking in his interview, and they're downshifting from a 0.75 percentage point rate to a 0.5 percentage point rate? What do you think is going to happen with us now?
Well, I don't do forecasting.
just guess. I like to guess.
But
is this even fair that they're doing this though? Like keep raising the interest rates every month? Is that even
no? It's again, this is where the MMT stuff really comes in, because what they're doing is they're raising the discount rate, raising the interest rates. They're basically trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist.
Right.
They have
because all the money goes to the top 1% of the people, but you're raising interest rates on the bottom 99%, which means that we're losing even more money than we already lost while they're still gaining it. It feels like, we're the good kids and they're the bad kids, and we're the ones that are always getting punished because the bad kid did something and then left the room, and we were stuck in the room when the parent came in.
Right. And the thing is, economics is the thing that has been used. It's been created and it turned into a force by people like Milton Friedman that it justifies all this. Right. So, so economics then says, well, you're getting paid shit because you're not worth anything more. You get $7 an hour flipping burgers because that's all you deserve. You don't produce anything more for us to pay you. But that's bullshit, because wages are not tied to productivity. No. They are not at all. And just looking at that one diagram, I have to get a copy of that and put it up. Where, just looking at that diagram will tell you wages and productivity don't go together anymore. They actually did for a long time, but these policies that have been put in place are the things that have caused that discrepancy. And yet at the same time, what happens is you get people like Jay Powell who just they're just entrenched in this thinking and they just double down. That's why the world is in the state it is.
Right.
Because we have, just a couple of generations of people being taught like a bunch of crap that they believe in. And they haven't learned from history. They haven't, and they don't connect with, your average person. And so it just, unfortunately, I don't see a good way out of this at the time for the time being. To me, it seems like we're just so deep that it's really hard to get this out. I think to me, I feel that education is the thing that people need, because we've been so misinformed, and you know, but I mean, unfortunately, I feel like probably what's going to happen is we're just going to continue, things are going to continue to get bad until something happens.
Right.
Um,
Fingers crossed.
yeah.
I'm waiting for the people to get mad enough to start fighting back. I'm kind of hoping with the whole rail worker thing right now, the rail worker strike and all of that, I'm hoping that this is that turning point for a lot of people, because this isn't just, unions and a CEO. This is unions and our government,
Right.
So this should, if anything in the last year, like with force the vote and all of that, like this should be another one of those, like, you're going to vote against the unions, then we need to pay attention to you, because you're supposed to care about unions as our server. You serve us. We are your constituents. Whoever you are that's leading us as politicians, you need to listen to what we want, not what these one or two corporate entities have to tell you. And they're not doing that at all. So I'm hoping this railroad worker strike union thing is really going to be a turning point for people's minds, is like, oh yeah, no, railroad workers can't even get a single day off of sick leave, when politicians can get sick leave as much as they want to with no limits. So I'm hoping people will start to see the comparisons, and maybe this is going to be that fighting point for us, hopefully.
Yeah. A lot of things are starting to bubble up. I mean, all these, we have so many freaking problems. And it's clear that, these problems come about because we just are letting them happen.
Right.
And the people in charge, they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And so, I hope people do start to wake up, because it's just crazy, and so anyway,
but that's the hard part, though, is like, we all want to be France, but we're not France. France is like the size of Texas, and that's it. So yeah, in Texas, if Texas was its own country, you could probably get a lot done. But because America is so big and so large and so many people with so many things going on in it, I was talking about this the other day, like North Dakota Access Pipeline, there was up to 3 million people at that pipeline protest. But you hang out in California, and no, there was a lot of people that didn't even know it was going on.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, and that's what I always try to base protests and strikes and all these fight backs against things, is the amount of people. And I always feel if there's even under 2 million people, it's never going to hit the news waves for everybody to find out. So somebody in, Alabama will probably have no fucking clue that, people in California are fighting against the offshore drilling or something, whatever could happen. I feel like it's because we're so big and people are so entrenched in their own lives that they don't even know that this is existing. That's the hard part. We want to be France, but we can't, because we're so big. And we've got the rugged individualism too, where we think like we're like the gods of our own bubble. So, and nothing exists outside of that. So that's another hard thing too, is the rugged individualism.
Yeah. Our culture really is a problematic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we tend to be proud of it, but we don't see, there's good aspects, but there's definitely negative aspects, and unfortunately, this is part of this whole fake patriotism. That, when you have this fake patriotism, people think, oh, well, nobody can criticize us. We know what we're doing. We know we have the best system.
Mm-hmm.
And so believing that lie, like my generation, did, that just basically, you just let problems fester and fester and fester.
Yep. Soon enough, you're going to have a fully infected leg and you need to get it chopped off.
Yep. That's right.
I wish we could chop off the 1% of America. That would be so nice.
You know, the thing of it is that people don't realize we could, you know, I mean, we don't need the rich. We really don't need the rich.
We don't.
You know, if you took all the rich people away, you know, it's not like the world would come to an end. You
No.
would end up just other people would become rich. I mean,
Yep.
you know, the world would just go on. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even hopefully in a utopian world, we would lose the privatization of everything and make everything nationalized. So that way there would be no owners. And if that's as simple as it could be. I mean, in the most simplistic form is get rid of privatization and nationalize everything. That would get rid of so many overly greedy corporate owners.
Mm,
So,
yeah. Well, I think I probably rambled enough, Jimmy.
yay, I love it. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm not always very articulate about this stuff.
No, this is good. I love when we talk about this stuff because we go off into our own little tangents too. So it's awesome. I need this every once in a while because, you know, you learn MMT, you learn economics, you learn history, but if you don't have somebody to like bounce things back and forth with what's going on in your head, you're going to have that question in your head for so long to the point you're just going to forget it. And then you're never going to think about it again. And I don't want that. You know, I've spent the last 6 years learning MMT, learning economics, no matter how boring it was for somebody in my generation, you know, just sticking to it, finding that one little aha moment that makes it fun and enlightening for you to keep going. And I don't want to stop. I want to keep going because I always still have tons of questions all the time. I used to have, oh my gosh, what's his name? Oh my gosh, he used to work at BTS with us. He's like my big brother from England.
Oh, Ellis?
Ellis, yes. I used to
Yeah,
have Ellis all the time to talk to about it, but you know, just, you know, people come in and out of your life. So you're like pretty much the only person that I have left to really like get in on it with anymore. So I appreciate it. It keeps us, you know, well, you're already smart because you've been doing it your whole life, but somebody like me, it definitely helps. And if I can help other people in the audience and whoever else is listening to at least get a little bit of an aha moment to where it makes them go want to research, that's all that matters to me. You know, that's one seed planted. And if we wait long enough, a garden will eventually grow. So
yeah. Another thing my generation benefited from was public television actually was being publicly funded, you know, through the 70s and 80s. Oh, well, it stopped, you know, I mean, Reagan came in and tried to kill it, but, you know, in the 70s, public television, actually, they had, you know, some great stuff on it, like Gore Vidal, and he used to be on, he was this incredible thinker. And Noam Chomsky used to be on. We had really good people who came in and talked, and you know, you could learn a lot. Nowadays, television is just horrible, and public television it's just bought, so it's useless.
It's if it bleeds, it leads now. You know, ever since I think the Jerry Springer generation, just TV turned into trash pretty much. So.
Well, and what happened with public television is that Reagan did really try to kill it. He was not able to kill it, but basically what they did was they co-opted it. And so, you know, now they get money from Coke, and they get the Koch brothers, and, you know, all the horrible
Yep, absolutely.
entities.
Yep. So now we get to watch all the sponsors during the ad breaks instead of like back in the day where PBS is like, we are broadcasted from viewers like you. I used to love that. So PBS is a broadcasting production brought to you by viewers like you. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. You're so nice. We don't get that anymore. Now it's like, oh, you want to see, here's a word from our sponsors. And it's like, get this new prescription pill. The side effects are really, really fast so you don't hear them.
You know, and that was another thing. Reagan brought that there never used to be medical advertising.
There was a time There was a time that America showed, I think it was a musical or a live musical or something, and it was on one of our channels, like Channel 2, I think like CBS or something. It was a couple years ago. And England, the UK wanted to see it really, really bad. So America's like, okay, we'll send it over to England, but you got to watch it through like the American, TV stuff and all that. And they ended up having to watch the ads that we watch here, like our commercials and stuff. That was the one thing they said, like Twitter went on fire the next day. It got super trending of like, how the fuck do Americans sit there and watch a TV show with all those prescription ads all the time telling you that this could help benefit your life, but the side effect is death. And UK was totally in shock of how much prescription ads we get here in America. They were like, holy fuck, you guys. They were in shock. It was crazy. And we don't even realize it.
No. And I remember when my kids were little, if you put on like 60 Minutes or something, there'd be all these Viagra ads. And I don't want my kids seeing stuff like that,
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's just like, you don't want to explain boner pills to a 6-year-old girl. And, but that stuff's on national television.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
mm-hmm.
ugh.
I know.
So anyway, Petroleum Broadcasting. Petroleum
Good job.
Broadcasting Service. Yeah.
Good job, Yona.
That's funny. So anyway, I got to get going.
Okay.
Bug you again in a couple weeks with.
Is there an article that you want me to put in the comment section? I have an article up from the Financial Times about it. Is that worthy enough?
Yeah, I'm sure that's fine. But I also, I really should come up with some resources for you, Jimmy.
That's okay.
So anyway.
It just says the Financial Times, Jay Powell signals Federal Reserve will slow pace of rate rises next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's actually been out and about a lot. So there's a lot of stuff out right now about that. So, but the important thing is there's no freaking way that workers, should be forced to maintain an inflation, maintain a low, wage a low wage policy that is to try to address inflation while all these wealthy people they've already gotten their gains from it. And now they're saying, well, okay, everybody else has gotten a gain, but now we got to suck it up. So you people need to be the ones to suck it up.
Yeah. Austerity
for the rest of us.
Yep. Exactly. I fucking hate that word too. I used to hear that word and I'm like, that's a pretty word. Austerity. It's so fancy. And then I found out it's actually really bad. I'm like, damn. Good way to trick me. Thank you. When politicians are like, we got to live in austerity for a little bit to help benefit society. I'm like, I can live in austerity, and then finding out it's actually not that good. I'm like, oh, fuck, you guys tricked me. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, that's what they do. And they're trying to do it now with inflation, and
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good word for even using it, because inflation, you think of like a balloon. You inflate it. Eventually it's going to get big enough to where it's going to pop. And that's where we got our, the crashes and what do you call it? The bubble market bursting and all of that. So it that's actually a good one, is inflation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And as you said, in the meantime, what's happening is the people at the top, they're the ones that are making money off the high interest rates, like that we have to pay for our credit and everything else. So
absolutely, I agree. We do.
They're getting us back for the 1970s.
Yeah,
that's
what it feels like. That's what it's really. Well, at least corporations can get reparations. That's nice. That's really nice. People of color have been waiting for it for hundreds of years, but corporations can get it.
They're good people, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Citizens United. A corporation is a human now. I'm totally Forgot about that. That's another thing that pisses me off too. Like, you want to be Citizens United and you want your entire corporate business to be known as a human, then everybody at that job doesn't get to vote not one time. You all at that business get one fucking vote, and that's it. You want to be a human, you get one vote. No more. Even your employees, your CEOs, your stockholders, nobody gets to vote for anything. Your CEO gets to vote for you in the elections as one vote.
Yep.
That's what it
And
should
guess
be.
what else? Humans die.
Yeah. Yep.
You want to be
Corporations don't.
corporations, you want to be a human? Well, then don't expect to live past 80.
Exactly. Yeah, you got an 80-year cap, and then you got to shut your business down. Sorry. That's another one. See, there's ways to fight it. It's if we get serious enough to where they start believing that we're willing to do something like that to them, I think that would start changing. It's just, what are we going to keep? It's just so hard to figure it out as normal citizens. Like, we can go around saying we're going to guillotine your ass all day long, but they're not going to listen ever. So it's hard. One day we'll get angry enough.
Well, got to get smart, and then get angry, get smart, and then get moving.
That's right. I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm writing that down. Hold on. I'm writing that down. Angry, smart, moving. All right.
There you go.
I like that. Holy shit, that's a good one. Holy fuck.
And like my daughter came up with, inflation is a weapon of class destruction.
Absolutely. That was a really good one too. Holy shit. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for the birthday wishes, everyone. And thank you for letting me ramble and blah.
Yeah, right. No, thank you for coming, and I hope you have a really good weekend.
Oh, well, I'm sure I will. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
I love talking to you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wish I could spend more time with you and Amber and everybody else. So, but
it's all right.
Someday maybe I will retire.
That's right. One day. Well, one day we hope that people over 60 can fucking retire finally. That would be nice.
It would be so nice if people like me could just, like move out and make way for new people, I mean, and in fact, that's an issue in the federal government. So many people, there's a lot of people my age, in my age group. And, but, we need to make people care about wanting to work in government again. And to do that, maybe we need to make government actually work for people. So people want to, feel like they can be proud working for the government.
Yep.
So
anyway. I agree. I absolutely agree. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Cherry.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, you guys. Here, you want me to? There we go. Okay. I am going to really quickly, let me find it. I got to go to the bathroom so bad. So I'm going to do the little intermission break. I'm going to play Yona's song while his new little, it's the new dance, the belly dancing song that I was telling you guys about earlier. So while I run to the bathroom, we'll do a little intermission break, and then we will be back and talking about what's coming up next. All right. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Oh, that's good. Okay, here we go. This is called, what is this one called? Space Biatch. I love it. Here we go.
porno bitch. A porno bitch. I need a porno bitch. A porno bitch. I need a porno bitch. A porno bitch. I need a porno bitch. A porno bitch. Fuck a lot of strippers, bring around me, motherfucker, I skip it. I fuck your little sister, then fly out of town, nigga, boy, I don't listen. You ain't hard as me, I fuck hookers, but they don't be charging me. What about the traffic sluts? I fuck the few, but I can't get enough. Educated, sophisticated, got a good job and other bitches hate. You know the kind of women that's hard to get, know just what to do with a hard dick. I even like them up, and one part of them just having fun. But I don't need strippers, grippers, or hoes. Right now I need a pro. I need a porno bitch. A porno bitch. 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 I need a porn star. I got a big ass dick and I'm a porn star. I want some professional head. Tired of having sex in the bed. Let's fuck on the kitchen counter, make a sex tape. Yeah, bitch, I'm down. I feel like Mr. Martin. Big butt nigga, let's get this started. Drop your dress on the floor, turn the camera on, the press record. And the next to the bar, push that ass up on the stool at the bar. Are you willing to be able to watch this stick on the pool table? Cause after that, the shower sex. Can you handle another hour of this? Strippers bring around me, motherfucker, I skip it. I fuck your little sister, then fly out of town, nigga, boy, I don't listen. You ain't hard as me, I fuck hookers, but they don't be charging me. What about the traffic sluts? I fuck the few, but I can't get enough. But I'm educated, sophisticated, got a good job and other bitches hate it. You know the kind of women that's hard to get, know just what to do with a hard dick. I even like them up, from up all night and just having fun. But I don't need strippers, grippers, or hoes. Right now I need a pro. I need a porno bitch. A porno bitch. 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 I need a porn star. I got a big ass dick and I'm a porn star. I want some professional head. Tired of having sex in the bed. Let's fuck on the kitchen counter, make a sex tape. Yeah, bitch, I'm down. I feel like Mr. Martin. Big butt nigga, let's get this started. Drop your dress on the floor, turn the camera on, the press record. I'm gonna make you a star, push that ass up on the stool at the bar. Are you willing and able to ride this dick on the pool table? Cause after that, the shower sex. Can you handle another hour of this? I need a porno bitch.
That is so pretty, man. She is just, that woman is beautiful. I couldn't say anything else. Like, she is just, whoo, wow, amazing. God, I wish I could, like I said earlier, I wish I could totally do that. I wish I could move like that. I've done some Hawaiian dance and just, like old school, like not old school, but like 2000s, normal dancing, obviously stage pole dancing, all of that. But man, I want to be able to roll my stomach like she does. I want to do that. I can't do it. I want to do it so bad. She is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Rab Valley dancing found a way to accentuate in the most artistic form feminine appeal. It definitely is. It's so beautiful. I love the way that her dress flows, and then she's got the top on, but you can't see like her legs, so it looks like her hips are just going like this, but her body stays still. Oh man, yeah, the Arab belly dancing. Whoo, it is so pretty. Oh my gosh, it is so pretty. I am in love. So here, let me put that up for you guys to watch. I'm going to put the link in the description box. Here you guys go. There's the link for the video if you guys want to check it out yourself. I absolutely love it. I could watch that shit all day long. I'm probably going to, once I get off here, just watch it again and listen to it while I'm editing. But yeah, that was Sherry today. I thought that was really good conversations that we had. I really enjoy her coming on the show, talking about any kind of economics. Today was mainly about inflation. I really getting into history with her to kind of figure out where it starts, how it got started, what happened to make things the way that they are with the subject that she wants to talk about. So it was always a pleasure to have her on. I can't wait till 2 weeks from now when we're back on and see what we're going to be talking about again. But this Sunday, I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure 100% sure yet, but I think Willie is going to be doing his show with us. And then on Monday, Willie is going to be joining me for the What Show here on Monday. This weekend, we'll be releasing the info and the graphics for the New Year's Eve special. The New Year's Eve, like all day party show thing that we do. I'm probably going to get off here a little bit early. That way I can make some of those graphics today for the group for the New Year's Eve thing. I got some work I have to do, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do it tonight, so I've got to get off. I was like, we'll just do an hour and a half, 2 hours with Sherry today, and that should be good. I was going to cover the Kanye West, Alex Jones interview, but I think we all watched it and saw pieces of what he has to say. Maybe I'll talk about it on Monday, or we can talk about it tomorrow night on Warren's show. I don't know. Yes, don't forget tomorrow night, Warren's secret show, Extra Bullia secret show. I'm going to be on there as well. So we'll be having fun with that. I don't know what we're going to be talking about. Probably more video games. Hey, that literally... Hey, stop fighting. Hey, you guys all fight. I don't understand why they fight with each other. Like, they're so good all day long, and then once in a while they just turn into little assholes. So stop. You stop it. All of you stop. Let's see. So yes, Sherry is so very well read and informed on evidence each time she speaks and shares of her lived experience. That's what I love about her is I wanted to start a show with her years ago called we were going to call it Generations, and we were going to talk about how what her generation, like we'll choose specific topics and talk about how her generation dealt with it, how my generation deals with it, and what caused it to end up that way, how our different generations are handling the different situations. I think this is what we do on Fridays is a really good substitute for that, because we could still talk about it, but more in a convenient economic way. So I really, man, she is super intelligent. I absolutely love her. There's not very many microeconomists around. When you talk to a lot of these economic academics, it's usually a lot of macro economists. So they look at the bigger picture of things, but she kind of gets down into the nitty gritty of stuff, like specific issues, healthcare, labor, kind of like we were talking about today. she gets really into the nitty gritty, and that's what I really enjoy. Like, I spent so many years learning MMT and economics. Like, I kind of understand the bigger picture. It's just all these little specific things here and there that still confuse me. Like, like stock buybacks or the loans, that we hand out, or bank loaning, banks creating money in certain ways. So there's so many different things about microeconomics that can be discussed, that even gives it a broader, better picture for us to understand than the macroeconomics part. So she's amazing. Absolutely love her. So be sure to check us all out this weekend. We're all going to be having fun. Yona's going to have his show tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern. So you want to go hang out with us tonight. We're going to be partying tonight over at Yona's. And then tomorrow night, we've got, I know the Political Matrix will be on tomorrow. I know I'm going to forget something. I already know I'm forgetting something, but I know Political Matrix will be on. And then right after the Political Matrix, it'll be mine and Warren's secret show over on Extra Boya. And then right after that, most likely it's going to be a Yona party again. Sunday, we're going to have Willie Braggs coming on the show. This weekend, we're going to be releasing the graphics for hey, get down. Here he goes, knocking down. Well, there you guys go. You get to see my fake background that I don't usually put up because he wants that. But and then on Monday, come and check us out. I'm going to be back on What, and I'm going to have Willie Braggs on. Willie Braggs will be here every first Monday of the month. This weekend, I'm going to try to memorize his schedule and figure out what his permanent schedule is that he does shows. And I'm going to pick a day, and then I'm going to be on his show once a month too. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait for that. I think what I'm going to do is he does the first Mondays. I'll pick maybe at the end of the month or in the middle of the month. So that way we kind of get a week or two break. That way we're not I don't know, talking about the same thing over and over again. We get a little bit of time to kind of figure out what to talk about. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. So just come and check us out this weekend. It's a full-on weekend. December apparently is where it's at. YouTube and Rumble and Twitch and all of us independent news people or independent media people. It's going to be where it's at this weekend. This weekend's going to be fun. So I think that is it. Let me say goodbye to everybody. Yona, thank you for the amazing song in the music video. I appreciate you. I really love it. I know the cat is awesome. He's just out there today. He literally dropped these down, grabbed the little bow that was on here, and now he's sitting next to the bow eating cat food. He just wanted the bow. That's all he wanted. He just wanted the bow. So enjoy my half background, you guys. Burton, you want to say goodbye? No, he's like, I'm eating, bitch. Leave me alone. All right. I am going to get this stuff out, get some little bit of work going. I will see you all tonight on Yona's show. Don't forget to check it out. You can, here, let me I know I put it up in the comments section at the beginning, but I will put it up one more time for you guys to go check out Yona. Give him a follow. Yona, Annie Wody. Okay. Here we go. Let me get over to the page and get you guys the link. Here you go. All right. There you go. Thank you, Warren, for stopping by. Love you. Thank you, Les Bones, for coming by. Love you too. Later good. Okay, later good and fine people. Thank you. Yona, thank you for stopping by and giving us some extra stuff and showing the support. I can't wait to go and support you tonight. Thank you. So I saw some people on Twitch, so I want to thank them. We got some kind of bot person in the Twitch, ALMXNDTVCVF, wanting to hook me up with fake subscribers. Thank you. But no, thank you. I'm good. Clark Griswold in Twitch, thank you for stopping by. Sorry I didn't get to answer your question. I don't even remember what we were talking about now, so I'm really, really sorry. Dolores, thank you for stopping by. Lana, thank you for stopping by. John, thank you. Willie, can't wait to see you this weekend. And Amber, thank you for stopping by. Holly, thank you for coming. Thank you all for hanging out and sharing this and watching this with us. I truly appreciate you all. I love having to hear what Sherry says, and it's definitely needed to help us get a little bit smarter, or like what she says, get angry, get smart, get moving. I'm going to get off of here and take care of these psychotic felines that I have. He's crazy. All right, you guys, I love you all. Thank you all for stopping by and showing support. I will see you all in a few days. Have a good weekend. Stay high, stay empathetic, and don't get in too much trouble, all right, unless you're playing GTA. Peace.